as I mentioned at Rutgers, there's 20 different types of denominations, Bhakti Club, the Vivekananda Study Group, Chinmaya Mission, Art of Living, Gayatri Parivar, Samskrita Bharati. They all exist. BAPS Campus Fellowship is becoming quite big. The challenge with that is, as Arnav mentioned, is that it's not all-encompassing. So we are creating a microcosm of our bigger society right on campus and dividing ourselves. So all of them are great. They'll talk about philosophical things. They'll talk about, doing the pujas, the bhakti traditions. Everything is there. However, when it comes to intellectual Kshatriya, battling Hindu phobia, the thorny issues, right? You would imagine when a professor at Rutgers calls Sri Rama, who is a Vaishnavite avatar, as misogynistic pig, the entire Vaishnavite traditions, BAPS, the Bhakti Club, everyone should have a huge problem with it. However, there was zero activism from any of those denominations.
So there's a deeper issue with modern Hinduism, and that is lack of Kshatriyata. I face this a lot. People would say, well, you're creating controversy because you're getting into social, political issues, and we are into the metaphysics of moksha. Okay, so I said, okay, I would say that 99% of you are not going to get moksha in this life. and you're going to be back reborn as per your own belief. And therefore, you may be reborn in a world which is all non-Hindu, all Muslims. So what are you going to do about your moksha in that case? So you really need to argue with them in the context of their own vocabulary. You have to tell them things like Arthashastra is a very strong Kshatriya document. It's about governance, about ruling, economics, political thought. You talk to them about, and maybe that's something they are not as comfortable teaching, but you can certainly tell them about Mahabharata. That is something they have to be comfortable teaching. And Mahabharata is Kshatriyata. It is, the whole thing is a battlefield. So it is not about running away to a cave for moksha. It is about fighting the good fight in the battlefield. So the early Arjuna in the beginning of the Gita is what I have called a moron. A moron is somebody escapist, running away from the realities, coming up with very lofty statements, very abstract, non-actionable things. And he's like that. And it takes Shri Krishna 18 chapters to argue and tell him that he has to go out and do this fight. So that is the actual whole story of the Gita, is to get a person who is escapist to actually take over action, to do some action. Therefore, if you look at it from that point of view, these Hindu organizations are not doing justice to their own dharma. I mean, they love to teach Gita, but this particular central point in the Gita is the elephant in the room. You can't escape, you can't avoid it. But somehow that is the case, right? They don't face it. So there is a deeper issue we have.
Just agreeing with you, I believe that this is the ironic part where we believe that moksha can be attained by being like escaping and not getting into controversy, where on the contrary, Lord Krishna, that is what his all the component is about, that if you stand for dharma, that is when you are eligible to attain moksha. So that is the key point which a lot of organizations or Hindus generally might be missing. And this is where I would like to mention the previous thing we talked about, where you mentioned how come a lot of professors who do not have anything to lose, or any person who's on a big position, but they would still not like to put their thoughts out, or maybe in a personal conversation they might mention that these are their thoughts, but they would not want to put it in public. And it's all a part of the disease called secularism, which people do not want to be typecasted as like Hindutva or anything that's going on in India as well. So even my question right now is, being a HSC leader, it's very hard to not just deal with anti-Hindu sources, but also people who are Hindu but secular. So I think that is a bigger problem, because we are not united, first of all, and the Hindus who are secular is a problem, so especially the youth. And the problem that I believe also lies in the kind of things you learn from your family and narratives you've been learning from generations and generations. And a lot of times their parents might be the ones telling them to stay out of controversy. Now, these are the kind of, this is the way a lot of Hindus are grown up. So if the problem lies the way in their parenting, we as Hindu leaders, how can we fix that? So now we're in a discussion with someone who we feel like does not come from the same background or same Hindu-minded mindset as us. So how do we convince them? Or what kind of a narrative should we adopt in order to convince other Hindu youth about this? That's personally my question, which I'm still trying to find the answer out so I can go back to my campus and fix the problems there. I would like to mention the name as well. So University of Toronto is where I'm looking at the chapters, and we have a campus called University of Toronto, Mississauga. So they have been having some problems over the years that their Diwali night is usually Diwali pub night, and it's all about partying and bar and alcohol. And a lot of Hindu other organizations within the Greater Toronto area have been trying to approach them. But another problem that I recently found out is that the club got so secular that one of their recent presidents was actually Pakistani. And then other people, when they questioned it, it's like, oh, why are you being so picky? This is okay. But the problem is that they cannot support or stick with Hindu narrative when if someone is not from a Hindu background, as simple as that. So I recently found out that could be one of the reasons why that particular club is very secular.
So it's very interesting that this Pakistani wanted to infiltrate in a sense, because he's not doing it as part of his faith. He's just doing it because it's available. Hindus are confused, so he might as well get in and take over.
So not just Diwali, even Navratri is also another problem that one of the chapters is facing. So I think UIUC's University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, they had the same thing. They have been hosting Garba and everything, but then they would not do the Aarti, and that was an issue which I think when they were questioned by my sister who was going there at that point. When they were questioned why are they not doing it, they're like, oh, there's other people coming that are not Indian, and they might not feel comfortable if we do this, and it is just something like we don't want to put a religious tag on it. So I think it is just a time where people are not feeling confident to show their identity, and they're trying to hide that this is related to Hindu Dharma.
They're embarrassed. This is the colonial mentality. When you're colonized, one of the things that happens is, we lost our language. Mm-hmm. So we were told, very openly discussed in the British Parliament, that if you raise them in English, they'll lose their sense of history and sense of identity and continuity. And then we'll teach them who they are, we'll write their history for them, and we'll give them the identity, which gives them an inferiority complex, and they look up to us as superior people, then they'll be our slaves and our servants. All this is written in thousands of pages of texts and lectures and parliamentary debates in Britain and all that in the 1800s. So what those guys wanted to happen is what's happened. So we are a product of that. We are colonized in that sense. The whole challenge is how you get decolonized. And, all of you here are fantastic examples of doing yours for Dharma, in that sense that you said, okay, I know there are all these problems. I'm kind of alone. There are very few of us, but I will do the right thing, because ultimately I'm doing it for myself. This is my Swadharma. And then as long as each of you are strong and you are following this path, gradually, a few more people will join. I will tell you in my own case, 25 years ago, I could not get a group like this. I would go alone, and I'd be the only guy, and people who ought to be on my side would be on the other side, or be saying, hush, hush, why are you doing this? It's you're creating controversy, don't you know? It's embarrassing to us. A lot of people, friends, relatives. Only when you start winning, only when your side starts winning, then they all want to come and pat their back and say, oh, yeah, I'm with you, kind of thing, So this is the whole thing about the price you pay as a leader, is that you will get hit. And you have to be very strong. You will get hit. You will get accused, you will get beaten up, and people will say all sorts of things to you. Your inner strength and your conviction has to be such that you know this is that is injustice. You are fighting for justice. You have to look at great pioneers from our tradition who've done this. You've seen people in all sorts of other traditions who've done it. Blacks have paid the price. LGBTQ people are standing up for themselves. Whatever else may be the case, the fact is that they're standing up for themselves. Muslims are standing up for themselves. Jews stand up on campuses now more and more. So, people standing up for their identity are going to pay the price, whatever the identity may happen to be. And therefore, you should have that strength and conviction to continue this, and because you are doing well with this and you are confident and happy and assertive, others will join you because they will say, this person is a good role model. So one thing you can do is be very public as a role model and say, look, I'm doing this. I don't care if you're doing it or not, but I'm doing it. That's my advice on what you can do. Because, and also as far as the parent generation are concerned, it's probably too late for them. Maybe it's just too late to change. If they want to on their own, you can be very happy and facilitate it, and we'll be happy to meet parents. I'll be happy to meet parents. But if they, you should be more interested in influencing your generation. And I would say, with the Hindu-derived practices becoming popular, even though they become decoupled from Hinduism, but becoming popular, that's an opportunity. And also the big conflicts going on between, Judeo-Christianity on one side and Islam on the other side. Hindus are an interesting anomaly in that case, because we are not within that sort of violence and that kind of controversy. So there are gradually, people are beginning to understand this. The Hinduism is maybe not that easily dismissed. Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here and also hit the bell icon to make sure you get notified. To donate, please click this button.